Alrighty. Hello, everybody. This is Dimian again, coming back with another review. And for this month, I'm going to be covering a trio. A series of games, of which there are 3 out right now. And that's what I will be doing for this month, for celebration of their 4th game finally being released. Well, yeah. As of the time that you're watching this, it's probably released. It was teased just a short bit ago. So, the game that we will be going over today is Borderlands. We're going to be doing the Borderlands trio. This includes Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, and Borderlands the pre-sequel. I will not be doing a review on Tales from the Borderlands, as even though this is a Borderlands game, it is a very, very different style of game. These reviews will be split into 3 parts, because while all these games are similar, they are their own respective games. This, again, is not sponsored in any way, and is just for reviewing purposes. So without further ado, let's get into it. Borderlands. This game is a looter-shooter game. You will start off here. This is the beginning of the game. I am not on a beginning character, though, even though I am here, because I wanted to go over the skill trees and stuff like that of this character that I will be using for reference. So, this game is a looter-shooter where you will run around, kill enemies, and do various quests to achieve loot, and to go farm your way up to becoming a powerful adventurer. I am going to try to avoid any spoilers and stuff like that from story purposes, hence why I have decided to come back to the beginning of the game, because I didn't want to spoil any areas or anything like that. So, let's see. The character that I will be using as of right now for this test will be Lilith. Lilith is a siren, and this is kind of like the game's mystical being kind of whole shebang. Like, every game has that one type of thing that's kind of like caster style. This is basically that. So, in this game, there is 4 characters that you can choose from. There is, what is his name? There's Brick, who is a berserker, whose primary playstyle is running around and beating things up with his fists and with shotguns and explosive weapons. He is the big want to be in the center of everything character, if you are into that playstyle. Next, there is Mordecai. Mordecai is a... what is it? I think it was... It might not... I think it's a huntsman. I think they titled him as huntsman. So, Mordecai is your sniper-esque character. He has very strong abilities in his skill trees that are very useful for sniper rifles. Hence, there will be abilities that strictly add damage bonuses to sniper rifles or increase the accuracy of sniper rifles, so on and so forth. While Brick is the be-up-in-your-face type of playstyle, Mordecai likes to sit back and kind of pick things off before they even have a chance of dealing damage to him. While Brick's ability lets him run around and beat the crap out of things, Mordecai's ability lets him throw a bird, his trusty pet called Bloodwing. This Bloodwing can get a number of different modifications through his skill tree, but that is his action ability. Next, we have Roland the Commando. He is a soldier of sorts. He is your basic general weapons guy that you would expect. He does very well with assault rifles and has a lot of defensive properties like throwing up defense. Speaking of defense, that's what his ability is, his main special ability. He throws down a sentry or turret, and this turret can get, just like the bird from Mordecai or Brick or Lilith, a multitude of different upgrades pertaining to that ability, such as giving health to nearby allies, or having a wall that you can hide behind that will stop enemy bullets and projectiles, as well as doing more damage and stuff like that. So those were a quick overview of the 3 characters that I am not going to use for the main explanation. I'm going to choose to use Lilith, only because she is my most played character in this game, and I just chose that one off of a whim. So let's go over Lilith and see kind of like how these skill trees can change. So all of the characters' skill trees will look like this. Each character's skill tree will have different abilities for each of these slots, but while every character will have different abilities for each of those slots, each character's skill tree will look very similar to this, to where there are 3 different sections, generally, that have a different concept or play style going down them. Or you can grab a little bit of everything if you just think all of it's really good, or if you're just that type of person to where you feel like a good all-rounder. So, let's go over what Lilith's ability is now. Since she is a caster, funny enough, while she is a caster, she's actually, in terms of like a close-range battle mage, I would say. Her main weapon type, while Brick likes explosive weapons, shotguns, and being up real close, Mordecai likes being really far away with sniper rifles and single-shot revolvers that do high damage. Roland likes assault rifles and things like that. Lilith actually really works well with submachine guns. Just like Brick, she likes to be up in the thick of all the battle, but for a different reason. While Brick is just big and very strong to be able to take all of the damage and thrives off it while running through everybody, Lilith can go from enemy to enemy very quickly because she has a lot of chances to avoid damage altogether. So, one of the main things to stop you from avoiding damage, let's get into her special ability. Phase Walk. Gain the ability to turn invisible and move incredibly fast. Upon entering and leaving Phase Walk, you create a Phase Blast that damages nearby enemies. You can melee attack to end the Phase Walk early. This will also emit the Phase Blast. So, whenever you go into this ability, you will create a Phase Blast around you, and then whenever it ends, you will create a second one. This is another good thing to note, so I will show off the ability now. So, this is general running speed. It's decent speed. This is walking, so not that fast, but it keeps your accuracy pretty good. This is sprinting to where you don't even have a crosshair, but you move a lot faster. And then, this is Phase Walk. Insanely increased speed. Everything's black and white, though, and I am kind of ethereal and just flying around this area. It is a very good ability and can be used in a multitude of different ways. It can be used for a damage ability. It can be used as an escape. It can be used as an engage. It can be used for just movement purposes because it really doesn't have that long of a cooldown. Like that thing that you just saw pop up in the bottom left-hand corner again, that was it coming off cooldown. So she can really go from enemy to enemy and just keep flying around the battlefield, and because she can chain this ability fairly often, she has the mobility to just get from place to place really quickly. So let's go through her skill tree and see just what everything does. First, we'll go down the left tree and we'll just make our way over. Diva increases the capacity of your shield. Pretty good, just an overall survival increase. Pretty nice. Decent ability overall. I take it for the survivability because being alive is good. Next, striking. Your melee attacks can daze enemies, reducing their movement speed and accuracy. Gains potency with level. Or not potency. Well, I guess potency? It gains chance. It increases the chance for you to daze an enemy per level, or per point you put in this ability. So, it is a good ability, and daze is very strong, but I do not tend to melee often, so it's kind of lackluster on me on... I don't really have strong melee strength. Sure, I could build for that, but I prefer to just use my guns and run through. Next, Inner Glow. While phase walking, you regenerate health. At max rank, you regenerate 7% of your health per second while phase walking. This is really good for that escape button playstyle that I was talking about with phase walking. So if you're in the middle of a fight and you start to get low on health, you just go into phase walk, go invisible, and start regenerating your health. Sit there for a while maybe, and after your health is back up to a manageable level where you feel pretty safe, you can hop back out of phase walk and start dealing damage again. Next, Dramatic Entrance. Your phase blast can daze enemies, reducing their movement speed and accuracy. This is very good. I don't use it, just because I tend to mostly use my phase walking for an escape button, not so much to get in. Like, I will use it to either get out, or I will use it just for movement speed whenever there aren't even any enemies around. So I don't really need the daze from it. It is a very good ability. Just because I didn't take it doesn't mean it's not good. But it's just something that I didn't really feel like I wanted for the build that I was running. Next, Hard to Get. Decreases the cooldown of phase walk. At max rank, phase walk's cooldown is reduced by 16 seconds. In my opinion, this is very good, especially for the playstyle that I play with Lilith. Since I use it for an escape button, I really like to have it off cooldown in case a dangerous situation arises, or I like to use it for movement, and the faster I have it off cooldown, the faster I can use it again. I find this one of the necessities on Lilith. One of the main things you want to do is reduce the time of your special ability, for a multitude of different reasons, whether the effectiveness of the ability, or if it just makes you feel special. It's a little bit of both for me. Next, Girl Power. Killing an enemy causes your shield to quickly regenerate for a few seconds. Regenerate 7% of your shield per second at max rank. This is really good because that gives you more survivability while in the midst of combat. So if you have 3 enemies in front of you, and you're shooting at one of them, but all 3 of them are shooting at you, you'll probably start to take a lot of damage pretty fast. Whenever you kill one of them, though, you'll start to immediately regenerate shields, which will give you just that little bit more survivability that you may need to survive. Next, the capstone of the controller tree. Mind Games. Each bullet you fire has a chance to daze enemies, reducing their movement speed and accuracy. Chance to daze versus an equal level enemy to whatever your character is 5%, gaining 5% per level. I only put 1 point into this. You can do whatever you see fit, but I only put 1 point in this because while it is a very good ability, I use submachine guns a lot, and preferably submachine guns with very high fire rate. So that 5% actually procs a lot for me, just because while it's only 5% chance, I can fire very, very, very many bullets So that 5% is... It still has a high chance of proccing. So let's see. Right? 5% chance to daze the enemy. This is one of my main weapons I use. It has 69 bullets in the clip. That was the entire clip. All 69 bullets. So, that is 5% 69 times. There is almost guaranteed that I get a daze in there if the enemy is still alive after that. So, even though I only have 1 point in it, it is all I needed. Okay. Next, we'll go down the middle tree, the elemental tree. This one's really fun. First, Quicksilver. Increases your fire rate with all weapons by 25% at max level. This is amazing, especially for my playstyle, considering I like submachine guns and fire rate is always great, because submachine guns tend to have lower damage but good fire rate. And if you get more fire rate, that just means more damage. Next, Spark. Increase your chance of causing elemental effects with elemental weapons. So, I will be covering what elemental weapons are while I'm covering this. So, this is a very good ability, but it has its downside. It is very good for beginning of the game. But as you start to get later and later in the game, it starts to become a lot less useful. Reason being is elemental weapons are weapons that have certain properties. If I go into my weapons, you will see that it just has normal weapon stuff. On this one, you will see that over on the right side, there is a fire icon. This means that this is a fire elemental weapon. And this one has a lightning bolt. This is a shock elemental weapon. These both have chances to either light the enemy on fire or shock the enemy, which drains shields very fast. These do not have elements. So, the thing about this is, while it is great, and elemental damages are very, very useful, whenever you get to later in the game, your weapons have higher and higher chance to actually cause status effects. This is one particular gun to which kind of defines that point. This is one of my most used guns in the game. It is called the Hellfire. This is a fire SMG that it's pretty decent. It has pretty good fire rate, but this is a unique, or what is it called? Well, it's a legendary. It is a legendary weapon in this game, and what that means is it tends to be stronger than the general bunch or have a strong special effect tied to the weapon. Most weapons that have special effects tied to them, you will see by the red text that it has in its box. So, if we look at the description of the Hellfire, we will see highly effective versus flesh. Already good. Chance to light enemies on fire. Every fire weapon will say that, but nice. Next, we see this nice red flavor text saying, "We don't need no water." Generally, red flavor text is not only funny, but it ties a special effect to the weapon that you are unsure of what it does. But over many people testing and figuring out what all of the red text things do for weapons, you can easily search up and find what your red text means if you are unsure or if you want to know. For the Hellfire, "We don't need no water" makes every bullet in the Hellfire ignite the enemy. Not a chance to ignite the enemy. Guaranteed to ignite the enemy. So, why would I need increased chance to light an enemy on fire whenever it's already guaranteed 100% that I will light the enemy on fire? This is why I was saying that early on in the game, whenever you don't have strong weapons that have very high chances or guaranteed abilities to cause their status effects, that this is just more of an early game ability and kind of really falls off later on. So, now that we've covered elemental weapons and spark, let's continue on the middle tree. Resilience increases your resistance to fire, shock, corrosive, and explosive damage. These are all of the elemental effects in the game. This gives you a 30% elemental resistance, which is very useful for survivability. So I tend to always pick this up. Radiance. You deal shock damage to nearby enemies while phase walking. Damage is based on your level and the skills level. I find this nice, but again, with my playstyle, I do not use this considering I use my phase walk as an escape key. So this is not very useful for me in the slightest, so I don't waste points here. Next, Venom. Add corrosive damage to your melee attacks. Also, your melee attacks have a chance to corrode enemies, causing additional damage over time. So, this is good, but if you're having a problem with armored enemies, stuff that corrosive damage is actually good against, I do not recommend meleeing an enemy just to corrode them. Either equip a weapon with corrosive or something like that, and just shoot them from afar. I mean, it's a cool ability, but I find that it's very wasted if you put one in here. While it does give you increased melee damage, if you want to go on a melee-focused build, go ahead. Nothing's stopping you from doing it. You can do whatever you want with your character. But for the build that I am using, I find this very lackluster. Next, Intuition, one of Lilith's best abilities in the game, in my personal opinion. This is not a fact, this is not set in stone, but in my personal opinion, this is one of her most useful and just overall best abilities. Intuition. Killing an enemy increases your movement speed and the experience you and your team earn for a few seconds. So as soon as you see a group of enemies, as soon as you kill one of them, you get 50% increased movement speed, so you can just run around and easily dodge and get from enemy to enemy. And plus 20% experience for everybody who's playing with you. This can help you level up and get from place to place a lot faster. Another thing to note is this 50% movement speed buff stacks whenever you are using your phase walk. So phase walk was already incredibly fast, but if you kill an enemy just before phase walking, you move incredibly fast. Like, you are like, just, if you want to be somewhere, you are there. Finally, the capstone for the elemental tree. Phoenix. It's another kill skill, so it'll happen upon killing an enemy. Killing an enemy causes you to deal fire damage to nearby enemies and makes your shot not always consume ammo for a few seconds. The fire damage that you deal to enemies around you increases with your level. So, at max rank of this skill, you get 25% chance to save ammo. This means 25% of the time, whenever you shoot a shot, it will not take ammo off of you. This is really good considering that is a 1 in 4 chance to just not use ammo, which is very useful for conserving it and just for more DPS considering whenever it doesn't consume the ammo, that bullet is still in your magazine to shoot again. If it procs over and over again, you can, in theory, shoot forever. This is if you get lucky, but it is a very good ability. There is only one downside that I will note about this ability. Upon killing an enemy, causes you to deal fire damage to nearby enemies. The downside of this is it can hit barrels. That's about it. if you walk next to an explosive barrel and you're dealing fire damage around you, it'll just blow up the barrel right next to you. And I have killed myself many a time on accident with this kill skill. Next, we'll finish down the assassin tree, and then we will round up this review with DLC and other certain stuff to check out about this. Slayer increases your critical hit damage at max rank by 25%. I find this very useful because it is very easy to get a critical hit. All you have to do is shoot an enemy in the head. This is very easy for a lot of weapons, and the plus 25% critical hit damage scales very well and does just wonders. Next, Silent Resolve increases your resistance to damage for a few seconds after phase walking. This is another thing of why I use phase walk for an escape button. One, I already move incredibly fast, and if I'm not already away from every single enemy that was ever near me, and if some bullets are still flying my way or I get hit by some damage after I'm out of phase walk, I have 70% damage reduction. I'm only taking 30% of the damage I was supposed to take in the first place. Next, Enforcer. Killing an enemy increases your accuracy and bullet damage for a few seconds. Plus 35% accuracy, a pretty decent amount, and 10% bullet damage. Not that high, but every little bit counts. I use this because I like run and gun playstyle, and this gives me the accuracy to just stay on target with my SMGs that fire really fast. My accuracy can easily go out the window if I'm not careful, but this kill skill really helps keep it in line. Hit and Run. Gain increased melee damage and phase walk duration. The melee damage is a nice increase, but again, I don't often melee people. The entire reason why I get this ability is just to increase my duration of phase walk. This lets me run away farther distances or position myself well with phase walk, or sit in there longer to regenerate the health that I was missing from Inner Glow from the left tree. In my opinion, it's a very good ability. It's good if you're going a melee build, or if you just like doing what I do and just making complete use of your phase walk ability. Next, High Velocity. Increases bullet damage and velocity. So what this does is bullets in this game generally will have some sort of travel time. What this does is it makes you almost immediately have your bullet go to where it was supposed to be. If you click your button, there is probably a 99% chance that the enemy is already getting hit by the bullet you just shot. This is a very valuable ability because with some weapons and projectiles, they are very hard to aim but tend to do a lot of damage. This can help you more utilize those, considering it's a lot easier to hit since your bullets move faster. Also, the 20% bullet damage increase is a nice touch. Next, this is another one of, in my opinion, the most useful abilities that Lilith has. Blackout. Killing an enemy reduces the cooldown of phase walk. Cooldown reduction per kill increases per level. This is very, very useful. What this lets you do is it lets you chain phase walk over and over again. Hence the mobility that I was talking about. This lets you kill an enemy, and whenever you kill an enemy, it lowers the amount of time you have to wait before using your phase walk again. So if you use your phase walk to get to an enemy, you can kill that enemy and maybe some other enemies near it, and then immediately have phase walk back off of cooldown and just go to the next section. This is very useful whenever paired with Hard to Get, the one that already increases the cooldown time of your phase walk. These two together are insanely useful to always have your phase walk off cooldown. I only have 2 points in this because, to be honest, I don't feel I need more points in this. I kill a small amount of enemies and I have it up. And usually whenever I run to a group of enemies, I can see at least 2 or 3 enemies, which will get my phase walk back up in a very short amount of time. So this is my build for Lilith, and you can see how all of the abilities will kind of work together in a sense, at least for the playstyle that I was going for, and you can easily mix and match and make something that caters to you and what you like. There are many different types of guns, ranging from SMG, repeaters, revolvers. These are either automatic pistol or single-shot pistols, shotguns, assault rifles, snipers, and rocket launchers, as well as grenades. So, this game has a lot to offer, farm for, and fun to be had. And if anything, just like most games that are looter shooters and or are able to have friends play, it is better with friends. A whole bunch of shenanigans will be had, and I feel that if you play it with friends, it's a lot easier to get into the game and enjoy it. So, that is most of what I will be covering for character-wise on Borderlands 1. And now I will get into the section to say there is adult humor in this game, and this is rated M for mature. I'm sure you all know this already and really don't care, but there is also blood and gore. I do believe blood and gore can be turned off in this game, but I believe some scenes, just like in most rated M games, will tend to be maybe gruesome. I can't remember all the scenes in this game off the top of my head, but the Borderlands series is no stranger to murder and other things like that. So if you aren't a fan of blood and gore, then maybe give this one a pass, but in my opinion, when it comes to blood and gore in this game, it is fairly cartoony, so it probably will not bother you, so maybe give it a chance. This is not one of the ones where I would say, hands down, if you don't like blood and gore, just don't even pick up this game. But I'm pretty definite that you can turn off blood and gore in this game, but that will only affect the enemies that you are fighting and not all of the scenes that you may be watching, including intros of enemies or anything like that. But on the further note, for this game, there are a couple DLC. They add a couple bosses, some new places to travel to. They're decent DLC, and in my opinion, yeah, you should probably pick them up. They're pretty decent, and they have quite a bit of content in them. They are most likely worth your money. They're probably something that I would say, yeah, sure, go ahead and get. It's enough to keep you busy. It is probably worth the money. So, other than that, covering DLC, characters, and some of the guns and stuff like that, I do believe that that is all for Borderlands 1 that I would like to review, because if anything, I am a big fan of this game's story, and I am a person who likes to stay away from spoilers. So, I am banking on that you guys do not want spoilers either, and I will be leaving it here. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you enjoyed, and the next video that will be up will be Borderlands 2, and then the one after that will be the pre-sequel. These games will be in order of release, and not in order of where the game actually takes place. So, without further ado, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.